I think it's kind of fortunate for us because we're truth, not trends, right? That there's so many myths out there, especially with, women lifting weights. It takes an exponentially higher degree of effort to refute bullshit than it does to create it in the first place. Because I can just say anything and somebody, especially on social media, people will probably believe it just because I have a big following, right? Because a lot of the time these days people equate, 10,000 followers with being a reputable source, even though it's really not about that at all.
We are about to launch.
Truth, not trends.
Truth, not trends.
Truth, not trends.
What's going on, people? Jesse Schmidt, Liam Bauer, Rosie Mack in the house.
We got a new voice tweeting in the background over here.
Woman to balance us out.
That's right. God damn it. What the fuck's going on around here?
We're over here recording. It's day 2093 of my personal training journey.
2093. I have been a strength coach for 35 years and counting.
And I am an apprentice in my 6th week, halfway done.
She's 6 weeks. We're gonna have her 100 episodes from now. She's gonna be crushing everybody with years of experience. Rosie Mack in the house. Today we are bringing you an incredible episode talking about the importance of strength training during menopause.
Booyah.
That's right. We're gonna get all into the good stuff that comes from adding a well-balanced, safe, efficient strength training program to your life. If you're during menopause, andropause, any kind of pause, not to be confused with cat pause.
Bear pause.
That's right, dog pause. We got to talk to you about some of our sponsors.
That's right. The first one is low-cal foods, Cali. Low-cal foods feed your inner athlete.
That's right. They're delicious. They are nutritious. And they are right there ready to build a meal plan for you.
Scrum diddly-umptious.
That's it.
So you can pick from some of their pre-made meals, or you can customize your own. They're going to send you delivered straight to your doorstep or delivered here to the TNT Strength studio. Individually packaged, pre-made. Just pop them in the microwave meals. They're delicious. They're nutritious. They will help you.
They're low-cal. They're high-protein.
That's right.
Or they're whatever you want them to be. They will literally build them exactly the way you want.
Boom. Oh, and wait, hold on. Don't forget.
That's right.
When you order from low-cal, make sure to use the discount code TNT Strength 5 to get 5% off your next order.
And speaking of strength training to stave off anything that might be caused during menopause, we want to recommend the Harambe system, the best band-based strength training system on the planet, made by our friend Khalid Borbe, a.k.a.
Boom Robbie!
It is the machine that you've been looking for. It's small. It's portable. It's something that can create any barbell workout you could possibly imagine in the safety of your own home using super high-quality resistance bands. With the patent pen sling system, it can deliver over 1,000 pounds of resistance. You can do squats and deadlifts, shoulder presses, bench presses, rows, one leg, two leg. You can do it all. And, hey, we need to build some muscle to get those benefits, fight off those hormonal changes. You don't necessarily need to go to the gym. Get yourself a Harambe system and do it right there in the safety of your own home. Slide it under your bed, pull it out. You're ready to roll. And remember, when you visit the Harambe System store, use the code TNT to get 10% off any of the swag they have there available.
Now, people, I don't know if we said this before, but we're saying it now. This is the podcast where we help you maximize your strength as safely
and efficiently
as possible. Doesn't matter if you're going through menopause or going through
andropause. We're going to help you.
We got you back. There it is.
That one was all over the place.
That was really all over the place. So here we are.
What's up, everybody?
Once again.
Out there in TNT land.
What are we talking about today, Taku?
Today we are talking about the importance of strength training during menopause. Since we're men, we know all about menopause. No, that's not.
It's menopause. Menopause.
I think they call it andropause. What are the benefits? What kind of things can we hope? At this point, we hope, everybody knows TNT Strength. We recommend that everyone in the world tries to incorporate some sort of strength training. It's a lifetime activity. We recommend brief, intense, and frequent strength training workouts as the foundation of our total fitness program. This style of training is safe, efficient, and effective for everyone.
Do you think that women are afraid of doing strength training during menopause?
It's a good question. Today, we are lucky enough to have an actual woman in the studio with
living, breathing.
Yes, we it's not just the boys' game today. We brought with us our trainer, superstar, Rosie McGillicuddy, aka Makatange. Rosie, what do you think? Are women, do you think, afraid of strength training as a general rule?
I think they're afraid because, they're afraid of whatever it is that's holding them back. It might be too painful, or, they're afraid that they might get bulky like some of the bodybuilders, women out there. But I think that it's a necessary, strength training is necessary, especially as we age, women as we age. There's a lot of risks for lots of falling and osteoporosis. You hear a lot about that. And yeah, I think that's
there we go. Rosie Mack bursting onto the TNT scene
here.
It's her first appearance on a TNT podcast. First of many, hopefully.
That's right. Honestly, it's funny. It's not even unusual in my experience. Maybe Jesse's heard this too. For men to be worried that they're going to get too bulky. You guys, maybe you got a high-powered businessman who has like an expensive wardrobe. You're like, I don't want to grow out of all my suits. You know what I mean? And they underestimate the time and energy and effort it takes to get too big. You know what I mean? It doesn't usually happen by accident. I like to tell people, right? It requires a lot of stuff. I saw Chris Bumstead, who won the 2022 Mr. Olympia Classic Physique. He had a great thing saying, there's only one Mr. Olympia a year. You know what I mean? It's like the likelihood you're going to go out there and win is very small. One person wins a year, and it takes tons of work to try to get to those levels. So you don't have to worry about accidentally getting too strong. The other thing I always tell people is think of that continuum from A to Z. As if A is the sort of flabby couch potato person that's out of shape, and Z is like that scary, too muscular person they think about. You have to go through the alphabet letters sequentially, right? You can't skip to Z. You got to go A and B, and you just keep checking in, looking in the mirror, how are my clothes fitting? And you get to H, and you're like, this is exactly where I want to be. Now we just go to maintenance. Super simple. Yeah. But you can't accidentally skip and wake up too big.
Correct.
That doesn't happen.
Absolutely.
I think it's kind of fortunate for us because we're truth, not trends, right? That there's so many myths out there, especially with, women lifting weights. I think it's called Benedetti's Law. It's this idea that, it takes an exponentially higher degree of effort to refute bullshit than it does to create it in the first place. Because I can just say anything and somebody, especially on social media, if I have a big following, and people will probably believe it just because I have a big following, right? Because a lot of the time these days people equate, 10,000 followers with being a reputable source, even though it's really not about that at all. So I think you're right on, Rosie. It's really good to keep the focus on health and longevity, right? Like what are the actual risks and benefits of doing strength training? Like, can it actually make women bulky? And the answer is really no. It takes, like Liam's saying, it takes an extraordinary amount of effort plus probably an extraordinary amount of drugs for any woman to get bulky. Something I used to say in the box gym to men and women is, look around this room, look at all the men. All of them are trying to get as massive as they can. And almost all of them are failing because it's just not in the genetic cards, right? And men have 20 times more testosterone than women do. Thus, it's, maybe going to be 20 times harder for women to get there. And most won't, most women are just going to lift weights and feel good and strong and energetic and toned and all that good stuff. But anyway, let's not just stick with my case study anecdotes. Let's get into some of the
Jesse's
actual research.
Name of a thing, Blesinger's cat. Something's going on. He's always got some Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. All right, so
Jeremiah's shovel.
There we go. So what are some benefits of strength training during menopause? Number one, we got reverses genetic markers of aging. This is something you hear us talk about sometimes on the podcast. It's basically been proven. There's research that shows this, but there's ways that they can look at sarcomeres, different things in your genetic makeup. Think of your genes like switches that can be flipped, and good or bad or on and off, whatever. And doing strength training actually has a favorable impact on that stuff. So it doesn't mean you will become chronologically younger, obviously, but as far as function and your ability, you can stay functional at a higher level for longer when you stay as strong as possible. So it's definitely one of the top benefits is kind of staying youthful in how we feel and how we move based on being as strong as we can be.
Well, we're finding also that even genetic things can be changed, right? So, that's what epigenetics is this idea that, we tend to like think in this binary way of, well, there are the genetic things that are just set, and then there are the environmental things that we have control over, but more and more research is coming out that is proving that we can affect those things that we thought were like set in stone.
Yeah. I mean, you can make those choices, right? You can make different choices with food, with other things that you allow into your body or don't allow into your body that can have different impacts. Exercises of different modalities that can have impacts. Obviously there are certain things that we're never going to change, like our skeletons and things like that, unless we're going to get surgery, leg lengthening surgery. There was this whole thing about that guy who recently did that. Painful, but effective. Get 5 inches taller.
Sounds like medieval torture.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, in general, right? There are some basic things that aren't going to change dramatically, but we can control so many things. That's what's incredible about it. So another thing Rosie touched on briefly, which is one of the number one things, is we want to reduce the risk of osteoporosis. So as we age, our bones naturally get more porous. They're losing density and makes them more brittle, which is why we always hear about these old people slipping and falling. It's usually the worst case combination. You have someone who's deconditioned, so they've lost muscle, they've lost strength, which directly impacts their ability to balance and stop themselves when they start to fall. And then you have the decrease in bone density coupled with that. So now they're going to go down, and when they hit, the bones are more likely to break. So it's like a terrible double whammy. So again, strength training that's safe and brief and effective will improve bone density and improve balance and, less likelihood of falling. So yeah, again, multiple benefits right there. Osteoporosis is literally like, if you look at bones and cut them open, they look like a spider web inside there. Something called Wolff's Law. When the muscles are pulling and on everything, it sort of creates a tension inside there, and the body wants to build up that infrastructure of those spider webs to make them more robust to be able to tolerate those forces. When we don't have that pushing and pulling on the outside of those systems, the body goes, I don't really need this density. I can let it go. Kind of like when astronauts are in space for a long time, the International Space Station, they're going to lose bone density because the body quickly realizes, hey, there's nothing pushing or pulling on me anymore. And that's why they have to train several hours a day while they're up there, and they still usually lose bone density, depending on how long they're there.
Another thing that I've been hearing a lot of the older generations talk about is that they're shrinking.
Right.
And so, when I hear that, I'm like thinking to myself, that's where, the strength training is very important because, nobody wants to get shorter.
I mean, you obviously you have postural adaptations. We talk about the importance of working our necks around here, lower back, all that kind of stuff. So we're improving posture. We want to avoid that, that dowager's hump, that curved over stuff that can happen over time. I've had some clients who had really bad cases of that, which, we could improve, but not completely get rid of, guys that were in their 80s, but, definitely improve their ability to get up and down off the ground and stand a little better and move through the world a little bit easier. Give up those walkers and, ride the bus unimpeded.
I noticed myself personally that I personally sleep on the floor. And now I've been doing that for about 3 or 4 months now, and strength training with TNT for the past 6 weeks. And I have improved my ability to get up and out of, off the floor. Yeah. Just with my wrists and my lower back, so much more improvement and flexibility in my legs to push myself up.
Yeah, it probably sounds sort of silly or like self-explanatory, right? But there's been actual studies done that show as you lose that ability to stand up unassisted, your longevity in the world is diminishing rapidly, right? So the less assistance you need, the more likely you can take care of yourself. Right. The more as you need assistance or you're unable to get up once you're down there, right, you're not going to be around that much longer. So that's something to think about. I actually used to incorporate that into these workouts with these guys, like making them have to get up and down. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I say that's part of the workout. Like if you get down on the floor, do this, get back up. Yeah. They don't realize that they're training something that they need to be able to do. So definitely helpful. So another thing we can do is we can improve cholesterol profiles. Now, again, ultimately strength training is doing this for everyone when they do this. But so it's not just menopause, obviously. These are just things that so these benefits are sort of universal strength training benefits ultimately, but they can be important during this because we're going through, hormonal changes. So we can get these other benefits during those times when our bodies are transitioning. So improving cholesterol profile is great. Again, brief strength training lowers LDL, which is usually considered the bad cholesterol, and increases HDL, the happy density lipoprotein. Just remember the H, right? Happy, good cholesterol. And these are two key markers of heart disease that are improved by brief effective strength training exercises. So bam. What else?
You said it all.
Said it all. What's the next one on the list, Rosie?
Positively impact hormone profiles. And brief effective strength training causes your body to produce more of its own natural growth hormones, which is HGH. And an increase in HGH is known to boost your libido, improve your sleep, improve your memory, and decrease wrinkles in your skin.
Bam, that all sounds good to me. By the way, speaking of shrinking, I used to be 6 feet tall before you guys met me. But now that I'm 60, I'm down to 5'7". I'm going down fast.
You mean shrinkage?
Yes. Significant shrinkage.
So you feel you were shortchanged?
Yes. I mean, if she thinks that's me, she's under a complete misapprehension.
I think this last one, improves hormone profiles, is kind of like common sense, right? When you do a tough workout, you're going to be, right? We're actually temporarily weakening ourselves during that workout, right? And it's in the recovery phase afterwards where we actually get stronger. And when you go through a high intensity training workout, you're probably going to be tired that day. And your body has demands that it needs to fulfill in response to that workout. So one of those demands is probably going to be more sleep. I know on the days that I work out, I sleep like a baby. We're going to have probably increased caloric demands and protein demands, right? So you might want to, right? Because we're going to burn maybe a couple hundred calories on a day we do a workout, and your body's going to need that raw material to start, rebuilding bone and muscle and, getting you stronger. So there you go. We've got to eat good food, which, is going to play on certain hormones, and get good sleep. And that's where that growth hormone happens. That, we've got our hormones are synced with various circadian rhythms. So that overnight is when that HGH, spurt is going to happen.
Dripping down the back, your medulla oblongata.
And then, and then there are sort of these, and then, in conjunction with those things, kind of as an ancillary thing, right? We've got, we talk about ghrelin and leptin a lot, and when we're eating well and sleeping well and workouts are sort of, helping those processes happen the way they should, then ghrelin and leptin are going to be more in line. And so we're going to be getting the signals when we should, that, we're full and we should stop eating, or that we're hungry and we need to start eating. And I remember we had a client in here yesterday talking about how basically his eating was it was shifting just as a result of the workouts. And he's only been training with us for 2 weeks or something. Right. But he's saying he's having no problem. We gave him the simple rule that we do, which is, if you want to weigh a certain weight, just pick that weight and add a 0 to the end of it. So he's trying to go from I think he's 230 to 190. So he's like, yeah, I'm having no problem eating 1900 calories a day, because he's eating, mostly protein, and the workouts are, he said he's hungrier as a result of the workouts, which is exactly how it should go.
I wanted to talk about the wrinkles, because when I was training with Liam, if anybody's ever seen Liam, he's got beautiful skin. And I think
like a baby's bottom.
And I think that
Don't be
the years from him being healthy and strength training. And then ironically, I was out with a friend who hadn't seen me in a while, and she made the comment to me too. She goes, "God, your skin is so beautiful." And I thought, that's because of the training, you know,
You got that hormonal cascade triggered by intense strength training.
Yeah. And the thing is, right, when it's an environmental thing too, right? Because if you're focused on, doing good workouts, and we know this about you, you're also focused on, a good nutrition, right? When you're getting good fats in your diet, those good fats are what make up our cell membranes, right? Including epithelial cells. right? So those skin cells, right? Epithelial cells are in your skin. They're also in your intestinal tract. So if your skin health is good, that's a good, and it's not just like tons of makeup or something like that. It's like genuinely like good, healthy underlying, skin.
Filter 7 on Instagram.
Filter 7 on Instagram.
I choose filter 7. I don't even know what that is. I've never used a filter before, but okay. I know they exist.
Liam wears mascara. That's the only thing, though.
Back in the 80s. I got some pretty crazy made up pictures back then. The girls were into that.
Yeah, but so when you're focused on eating good healthy food, it's not a mistake that your skin health can improve because you're getting those good fats also.
Yeah, a while back there was a great book, the Parachrome Prescription, something like that. Basically, it was a guy who's a skin guy, but he approached it almost entirely by changing your nutrition, right? And it was just and it was all about friendly fats. He was recommending lots of wild caught salmon and melons and just good foods. And, having these people improve their skin from the inside out, right? I'm always trying to tell people, it's funny, people take all this acne stuff on their skin and they don't realize they're eating, it's coming out from the inside, right? So putting the stuff on the outside is not fixing.
It's treating the symptoms. It's not treating the root cause.
Exactly. So it's if you figure out what's making it come out of there, then you can probably stop and you won't need to keep putting creams and stuff on. I have people who I know for sure are allergic to nuts, for instance, and they break out. But they just keep eating the nuts, right? So I'm you know what's happening, so you can not eat the nuts, because the cream isn't going to fix it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Hey, what are those guys doing here? Whenever I feel like I'm stalling out on my bench press, I know I need a new strength curve. Whether you're stalling out on the road or stalling out in the gym, you need something with great engineering. That's right. So look for the pendulum. Pendulum. Not just your average strength machines. No, they have smooth strength curves, amazing rigidity. And did we mention the engineering's fantastic? That's right. Not to mention, they come in cool colors, like red and silver. Well, that was kind of weird. What was that all about? Back to the interview.
So next one on our list is that strength training for women going through menopause helps boost metabolism and increase fat loss. And this is another one of those. It's not just women going through menopause, it's everyone, right? And so adding muscle to your body increases your basal metabolic rate, which means you'll naturally burn more calories and lose fat 24 hours a day. Adding just 5 pounds of new muscle will burn off 20 to 30 pounds of fat annually. So if we add lean tissue to our body, it requires more upkeep, right? Just like I was mentioning that client before, he's hungrier because he's doing the workouts. That's because his body is adding muscle because he's getting adequate protein, but at the very least, it's trying to add the muscle because he's doing the workout and giving his body the stimulus to add it, right? So we have to give our body that raw material to actually build that muscle, and it can be incredible it doesn't matter if it's women going through menopause, or I sometimes talk about a 75-year-old female client that we had who gained 5 pounds of muscle in 1 month in only 4 workouts, right? So she was training for about 2 hours that month, and she knocked it out of the park from a nutritional standpoint, right? At 75 years old, which is an age that, coming back to these sort of myths around aging and strength training, a lot of people think, well, it's over now, right? 75 years old, there's nothing you can do. You are, if you got a walker, sorry, you're going to be working with that the rest of your life. You're going to be frail. And I mean, we're at TNT, we're here to push back on that always, that there's always something that you can do to improve your current state of being, your quality of life.
And I'd like to comment on that because I just did an InBody on last Friday, and this was exactly true for me. My basal metabolic rate went up. I had a decrease in fat loss, and I gained muscle.
Yeah. You gained about a pound of muscle.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
It was awesome. And I kind of got discouraged because I immediately looked at the weight. So I gained a pound, but that's all I was focused on. And then at the end of the day, when I reevaluated the InBody, I said, wait a minute, hold on. Hey, I made great gains, and that's where we have to eliminate the trend of, the scale is you can't just go based on your body on the scale. You got to get a bigger picture.
Yeah, that's what, body composition stuff comes into play, right? We talk about, what you're made out of. It's not, people, it's funny how people have a hard time getting it. It's like such a simple thing, right? If you lose 5 pounds of fat and gain 5 pounds of muscle, you're going to weigh the same. But it's a dramatic change in performance, aesthetics, how your clothes fit, how you function in the world. But on the scale, the number didn't change.
Right.
Wait, I still weigh 150, right? Yeah, but there's been a big shift in the stuff that you're made out of. Yeah. And that's what we're really after. Those are the numbers that we really want to see.
This can get really tricky, because, right, we're recording this in January, right? This is like New Year's resolutions, month. Everybody's going balls to the wall. A lot of people are making the decision this month to jog on the treadmill for 2 hours a day, every single day. Right. And so which is like, they have good intentions, right? Because everybody says, if you want to lose body fat, zone 2, right? So just like low and slow, and just go for a while and watch the calories tick up on the treadmill, and hey, boom, there's 500 calories because I was just, I jogged 5 miles or whatever it is, right? Which might be true. It might be true. But so here's the thing is, let's say every day in January, you're jogging 5 miles, right? So that's a lot. But we actually know a lot of people now that they average 35 miles a week. That's like a standard week for them. And some weeks they just do a lot more than that. If you're not doing strength training concurrently, then as you watch that weight on the scale change, right? Because let's say, you're holding on to 20 extra pounds. You're like, all right, I'm going to lose 20 pounds in January, right? You might do that. But if you're not tracking, if you're not strength training, if you're not getting adequate protein, if you're not tracking your body composition using a scale like an InBody or a bod pod or something like that, bioelectrical impedance, then likely what's happening is that you're losing body fat and you're losing muscle. And why that's not necessarily, let's say you weigh, 300 pounds, right? For a person who weighs 300 pounds who wants to lose 100 pounds, you're probably going to lose some muscle. And that's probably fine from a holistic standpoint. It's probably necessary, right? Because your body's just not going to need as much muscle as it has at 300 pounds, at 200 pounds to just live sustainably. But for people who are at a healthy weight, we want to hold on to as much muscle as humanly possible. And when we lose that muscle, along with the body fat, our basal metabolic rate drops, right? So our basal metabolic rate drops, and a lot of the time what happens is that people don't adjust their eating habits. Right. So January passes, they've been running this whole time, they lost it, they're happy because they see the number on the scale go down, and they're like, wow, I don't weigh 190 pounds anymore, I weigh 175. I'm happy with that, right? But what they don't realize is that they lost 7.5 pounds of body fat and 7.5 pounds of muscle. And now when they eat the same meals, they're going to, over the next couple of months, add on that same body fat that they lost and probably more. And they're still out those same, 7-8 pounds of muscle.
Yes,
right.
that
compounds over decades. And what you end up with is, that can contribute to frailty.
That's the idea of the yo-yo thing, right? Like I call them like they've just become a smaller fat person.
Right.
Like they saw the number on the scale, they're happy, like Jesse said, but the reality is they're just as fat as they were before. Or, and what'll happen is they gain it back. You said it becomes the cycle. And every time they lose muscle, the muscle doesn't get replenished, but the fat does. So they might their top might be 200 and their bottom might be 150. And they keep going back to 200. And they're like, well, I don't ever get any bigger, but they're actually getting fatter every time they go up there because they lost muscle and they're replacing fat instead. So they're a fatter 200, which is weird, right? It's because their composition is changing. So it's not, again, just the numbers on the scale. So again, all these things that we're talking about tie in, we're sort of blending them together as we're going. But another thing, obviously, we get more energy. So Jesse talks about this all the time, right? When we have more muscle, everything that we do in the day is less taxing, right? It's easier for us to accomplish all our basic goals, whether it's carrying 50 pounds of kitty litter or bringing out the trash.
Doing laundry.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, right? Activities of daily living, right? We call it. So those things become easier and you require less energy. And that's why it says it gives you more energy, right? Because it takes less to get these things done. So as Jim Schmitz, our Olympic coach buddy, likes to say, you can never be too strong, which is definitely a mantra that I adhere to.
Yeah, I also like to quote Mark Bell. He says, strength is never a weakness and weakness is never a strength.
There we go.
Very simple.
Wait, how can strength be my weakness?
We can also look better as we are aging and going through menopause. You know, the strength training changes the composition of your body in two positive ways. It increases the lean body mass and decreases fat. And in short, strength training makes you look younger and more fit. And I have to agree with that. Like, I feel my body really changing. And we talked about that with my changes. I wanted to also add with, you know, when you are gaining your muscle, you know, like I said, the basal metabolic rate went up. That meant I can eat more, for my resting, so what my body needs at rest. And so who doesn't like to eat more?
Yeah. So again, looking better, we talked about, you know, not function. We talked about the skin. Now you guys know how beautiful my skin is. Yeah. Thanks to Rosie.
Effervescent, I would say. Yeah. And I think we should just briefly mention that, you know, because we do, you know, at TNT focus, you know, primarily because like the clients that we train many of them are over 50, right? So we are focused on talking about things like osteoporosis and, you know, metabolic syndrome, heart disease, you know, all of these things, sarcopenia. But at the end of the day, who doesn't want to look a little better, right? You know, feeling good, feeling energetic in your body and like feeling attractive. Like these are important things, you know. One of my sort of like ancillary interests is like just looking into like what are the things that make, you know, people feel like make their lives meaningful, you know. So sometimes you come across in the news these like, you know, 90 and 100-year-olds, and they ask me, you know, how'd you do it? Like what, you know, and they talk about the things that are most meaningful, and like having like a mutual attraction with your partner is like a very important thing in aging. Right. Having those like, you know, close relationships with friends and family are important, but also like with your romantic partner is incredibly important. And I think that sometimes this gets lost. It gets convoluted in like fitness and health conversations these days, as if it's something superficial to like want to look good. But I don't think it's superficial at all. I think it's just an innate human thing.
Honestly, I always tell people that it's just as valid of a goal as any other kind of goal, right? You know, aesthetic goals to me are just as valid, if not more so, than performance goals, right? We're not all athletes per se. You know, we're not always trying to run faster, jump higher. But yeah, everybody likes to look at it. And usually the cool thing is that when you take care of the basic steps, when you get your nutrition dialed in, when you're strength training, the body usually comes along with the ride, right? So you get that as a bonus. I used to train a couple, a husband and wife, and they decided to buy their son some sessions as a gift. He was a college freshman, and he was sitting down struggling with why strength training might be of interest or what did he want to gain from it. And finally I said, you just want to look good naked. And he was like, that's it. You know, that's what I want. Yeah. I was like, everybody wants that. Yeah, we all want to look good naked. Yeah, that's okay. It's a good thing.
One thing I like to add is that, you know, looking good isn't just, for me, looking good is just even having a smile on your face. Yeah. So I feel like the strength training has made me happier and just having a smile. And how attractive is that?
No doubt. Yeah.
Yeah. So segueing into that, segue.
Yeah.
We have positive effects on depression. Okay. Regular strength training exercise improves cognitive function. We know this. It's incredible. Enhances mood, promotes daytime alertness, restful sleep. Okay. Brief effect of strength training will increase endorphin levels, which are the body's natural pain relievers, right? There's all kinds of great things. Like people always say they want that runner's high. Well, you can get that same kind of stuff from an intense strength training workout. But you get much more out of the strength training than you will if you just go for a jog, or like Jesse said, spend a couple hours on the treadmill. You get more bang for your buck from strength training. That's why that's why it's our most important activity.
We have a lot of colleagues who like to point to, you know, emerging research about muscle being an endocrine organ, and so how it happens is that when we do a high intensity workout, our muscles actually secrete proteins called myokines, right, which are proteins that have an anti-inflammatory effect throughout the body on various organs, including the brain, right? And so yeah, it's, you know, there are certain things as you're going through your workout, you get like a fist bump from your coach, right? And there's a little dopamine hit, you know? Right. So we've got the endorphins are flowing, the myokines are flowing. So there are a lot of reasons. And I think you also have a sense I can't really explain this from a physiological standpoint, but when you are in a regular rhythm of doing strength training, you have just an overall sense of well-being. Like, you know that you're doing something on a regular basis to take care of your body, to maintain things. There's like this residual effect of like, hey, I feel a little more energetic, and that makes you happier, right? Just the fact that you have more energy than you used to, right, in and of itself can, elevate your mood.
Right. And then you're not, things are not creaking and cracking, and you're feeling like, aching.
And I'd like to, personally disclose and share that, I suffer from depression. And for years and years in my 20s, I always exercised and I always strength trained, and I never needed antidepressants. And it wasn't until I got older and had a kid and a family where the time wasn't spent in the gym, it was spent taking care of other people. And that's where a lot of my need for depression, antidepressants, because I wasn't spending the time in the gym. And now, I noticed that my depression is being lifted more and more because of strength training and because of exercise. The reason why I kind of think I stopped strength training when I had a family and got married and had a job is time.
Yeah.
And I think that what TNT is talking, what we promote is you don't need a lot of time to do an effective workout and get the strength that you need.
Right.
And who doesn't love a busy mom? If we can be efficient and still have a positive effect and feel great.
Right.
That's a win for everybody, your family, yourself. I mean, I love self-care. I love to take care of myself. And I like to have time for myself, not just give it all away.
So now you can get it done in an hour a week.
Absolutely. And that's what I love. Yeah.
Well put. I want to add this other idea. So more and more, I think that the kind of like the definition, and you can apply this to your own life in however way you want to. But the way that I define happiness is like the amount of time that I spend in flow. And so like being in flow is being in the zone. Like I'm in the zone right now. Me and Liam love recording this podcast, right? Like we don't get paid for this. Maybe in the future we'll get some more sponsors or something, but we just do this because we love spreading good information, right? And so I think that a workout, especially a high intensity workout, is going to get you to that point. Now there are graphs floating around out there on the internet that actually show you on two axes how you define flow. So if we put skill on the y-axis and we put challenge on the x-axis, right? At the upper right-hand corner would be flow, right? And that's when a high amount of skill meets a high degree of challenge, okay? And then the lower left at the very beginning of the graph, that would be boredom. That's where a low amount of skill meets a low amount of challenge, right? So nobody really likes to exist there. Now, when we have a high degree of challenge, but a low degree of skill, that's where the panic attacks ensue. Because if you're overwhelmed because you don't have the skill to deal with challenges going on in your life, that's really, really tough. And at the other end of the spectrum, you have a high degree of skill, but a low degree of challenge, right? And so when we also don't like to not be challenged, we need to be, trying to push the envelope in our abilities. So just bringing this full circle, when we're in flow, high degree of skill meets a high degree of challenge. And this is what's happening in the training process, right? When you first start lifting weights, if you have zero experience, you have low skill, and the challenge is relatively low because you're just not strong yet, at least relative to your genetic potential. And as you get, if you're doing, especially if you're, training with us, training with a trainer, right? To having somebody, a friend or coach or trainer keep you accountable to making that that continual incremental progress, your skill will gradually increase and the challenge will also gradually increase until you get to that point where you are really, getting close to hitting your head on your genetic potential. And then you consistently are at a high degree of skill and challenge. And just being in that experience for 30 or 60 minutes a week, I think has a massively impactful effect on your just overall well-being. And you might not even be able to articulate it. You just walk out the door and you're like, I feel good. I went to the gym, right? But I think that's why I would say it does feel good in a nutshell, aside from all those physiological things, is that you did something that was very hard
Right.
that you're capable of doing, and you're doing that on a regular basis. And I think we need to remind ourselves of that.
Absolutely.
All right, so we like to do the truth part. We're going to talk a little bit about some research that's out there for those nerds that like to dive in or know where we're getting this stuff from. So we're going to just mention a couple little different studies that we're tapping into. And one is from Phillips M., Patrizzi R., Cheek D., Wooten J., Barbie J., and Mitchell J. from 2012. Resistance training reduces subclinical inflammation in obese postmenopausal women. That's in the Medicine and Science in Sports and Exercise. So you can find these things out there. We have another one, Breen L. and Phillips S. from 2011, Skeletal Muscle Protein Metabolism in Elderly Interventions to counteract anabolic resistance of aging. And that's in Nutrition and Metabolism. So there's a bunch of stuff out there. We're tapping into different types of research. Some of it is nutritional stuff, other parts strength related. We have another one, resistance training over 2 years increases bone mass in calcium replete postmenopausal women. That's from the Journal of Bone Mineral Research. So again, the stuff is out there for those of you who want to dig. You can always write to us. Remember, shoot us an email if you want to know more about where we're pulling this stuff from. I'm going to be putting up a little blog article to go with this. So by the time this one drops, there'll be an article on the blog as well. There'll be some links. There's some stuff from Human Kinetics from a thing they put. Strength training during menopause offers multiple benefits, and it's an excerpt from something called Action Plan for Menopause by Barbara Bushman, Janice Clark Young, and it's from the American College of Sports Medicine. So you can get that stuff. You'll be able to check the links in the blog, and always reach out to us if you want to.
Boom.
All
Baby.
right. Boom, baby. What's up, people? Thank you so much for listening to this episode of
Truth, not trends.
That's right here at TNT Strength headquarters, Truth Not Trends.
Please, if you enjoyed this episode, subscribe, rate, and review us on whatever platform you're listening to us on. And don't forget to share with a friend.
You can find us on the web at tntstrength.com.
That's right, TNT Strength now coming to you in person at 5255 College Avenue in Oakland, California. You can call the studio 510-768-5421. You can also text us at 855-796-9905.
Or shoot us an email at contact@tntstrength.com. And whatever you do, stay off of that stupid blue bubbly boasting.
What the hell is this?
What, that's light beer.
Gee, I weigh 90 goddamn pounds and you bring me this slopping foam?
Ariel's got me on a diet because the doc said my cholesterol's a little too high.
Well, let me tell you something now, Johnny. Last Thursday, I turned 95 years old.
Yeah.
And I never exercised a day of my life.
Huh.
Every morning, I wake up and I smoke a cigarette. And then I eat 5 strips of bacon. And for lunch, I eat a bacon sandwich. And for a midday snack,
Bacon.
bacon, a whole
Bacon.
damn plate. And I usually drink my dinner. Now, according to all of them flat-belly experts, I should have took a dirt nap like 30 years ago. But each year comes and goes, and I'm still here. And they keep dying, you know? Sometimes I wonder, God forgot about me. It just goes to show you, huh?
What?
Huh?
Goes to show you what?
Well, it just goes, what the hell are you talking about?
Well, you said you drink beer, you eat bacon, and you smoke cigarettes, and you outlive most of the experts.
Yeah?
I thought maybe there's a moral.
No, there ain't no moral. I just like that story. That's all.
Mixed and edited by Desmond McNeese for We Mixed It, LLC. Go to whatsoundsawesome.com.
I got a face for radio, is what you're saying, Captain.